Welcome in everybody to a Tuesday night edition of the Philly Guy Speaks here. Joe Quills here with you, and we're on a little early tonight, and that is because I'm on vacation this week, and that's why I had to think more than I usually do because it is Tuesday night, and you know, if I'm not working, then I don't know what day it is, but I should know what day it is because I've been writing extra articles for Bleacher Brothers this week. So, I'm going to make this a short podcast tonight because if you're going to be coming in live or um, if you're listening after the fact, the reason why is if anybody joins me tonight while I'm doing this quick stream, um, we'll get it to Captain Ron at 8 o'clock. Um, more and more as I grow older, it's not about me, it's we, and we'll be going on with that. So um, he's I'm starting at 7 tonight. He's at 8. I don't know if I took his spot or whatever, you know, or he had the 8 o'clock spot planned. I don't remember when I created the show for tonight. Um, So tonight will be a 7 o'clock start, obviously, because we're underway here. Thursday night, come join us at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we'll go however long. So hope everybody's had a great week out there. I've had a relaxing 4 or 5 days because I was actually started my vacation on Friday with a floating holiday, and I have 2 weeks off. Technically, I have 1 week of vacation, but if you can manipulate the days off just right, you can extend your vacation like a crazy person. But so that's me in a nutshell. We'll talk. We'll talk about the college football playoff. I'll give you my thoughts. Um, a little bit different. I think that I may be a little bit different from others, even though I'm gonna echo a lot of stuff that other people are saying as well. And also, we'll talk. The Eagles fiasco against San Francisco. Um, it is what it is. And we'll get you over to Captain Ron at 8 o'clock. So if you're somebody who likes to read, that Hooked on Phonics worked for you, because it did work for me. I've been writing articles for Bleacher Brothers, and with Bleacher Brothers, I've become the degenerate, the gambling degenerate of the crew, and that's fine. I hold it with a badge of honor, just like when the Bleacher Brothers show was on here on No Filter. I do embrace the Jackass theme as well when they play the Jackass theme with the Philly skyline and everything. So yeah, I do embrace all that stuff. So I've been joking because I have gotten to a horrible start with my Quills Picks Winners segment. And thank you to whoever it is that created the logo today. I'm going to show you that logo here in a second here for those that are watching this after the fact here. And the segment that I write was a throwaway segment. And there's the logo, Quills Pick Winners. You got 3-4 horses there leaving the gate there. Dad would probably be on the 5 horse there in that race, whoever it was. But I mean, if this is an American horse race that they took this from, but yeah, that's thank you to whoever it is that created that within Bleacher Brothers. I know I got razzed by, I think it was AJ, whoever it was, that I had not won a race yet. Ladies and gentlemen, that streak is over because my horse won today. And I am now 1 for 12. So, but I can say that finally had a winner here as Lord Ulrich. I think the name of the horse was. I don't even know what the horse's name was now, but he wanted 3-1 second choice, paid $8 to win. I was telling him play $20 to win on him. You would have got $80 back. So still in the hole, but I can say that I'm on the board. So thankfully that nightmare is over. Hopefully we'll get on to the next dream and nightmare, which is tomorrow's race, which will be posted in the morning. And for those that are wondering, and you can pretty much guess because I basically, for the most part, just use what's popping up on Daily Racing Form with the free web page. And tomorrow is going to be a race from Tampa Bay Downs. If you're going to watch the races live on your favorite app or at your favorite OTB or racetrack, Jason Beam will have to call a good buddy of mine, and we'll see if I can go 2 in a row, and we'll see what happens with that. So, but I did have the winner, but the video's not up, so I can't play it for you right now because I would turn it into holy shit, I'm gonna win. Don't fall off the fucking horse, Oh, 7:08. That's the time tonight. For those that are wondering when the lucky first curse would be tonight. So, and I'm going back to refraining from cursing. Want to be as professional as possible here. So, 7:08 was your lucky winner tonight. So, congratulations if you had that. But write the race perfectly. Boom. Good night. Show me the money. Or what I'd be saying if I was at the track, right? If I was at the track this afternoon, might have gotten kicked out for screaming this to the teller cashing my ticket. Show me the money! Because if I did that, they probably wouldn't even give me my money. They probably said, "Okay, nut job, out." But anyways, let's get to the college football playoff here. And as we all know, Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama are in. Florida State got snubbed. First real snub that we had since TCU back in 2014, if I remember correctly, if I read the article right. I didn't print anything up for the show tonight, so I just want to do a quickie show here. Tell you what, when I was watching watching the games on Saturday and chatting with my friends online Saturday night, I had a feeling once Alabama beat Georgia that with Texas winning big, Alabama was going to coattail into number 4. Now, some people were saying, "Oh, they did it because it's Alabama." They're bringing up old videos of Shannon Sharp saying when he was on Undisputed. That's the I think that's the show with Skippy Boy there. He called it the Alabama Invitational, and it's the SEC is either Alabama, Georgia, or Auburn over the last 10 years, I believe, and I may be wrong, and if I am, so be it. But this was the first year that we could have had real chaos, even more than what we had, and I really think that could you argue Florida State? Yeah. And also, you could argue that Florida State's I mean, people are going to argue because of the fact that you had that 0 on the end for losses, 13-0. Oh, you gotta take us. Well, if you gotta take Florida State, you gotta take Liberty, or as we call them sometimes, Liberty Bibbity. But Liberty Bibbity is in the Sun Belt Conference, so they obviously aren't in the in with the big boys, the Power Five conferences. But other than the controversy, everything is okay there. So I did see this right before the show started here, and I am going to take a look at this here. Actually, this was posted about an hour ago on ESPN. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis took the College Football Playoff Committee to task on Tuesday, um, slamming its decision to exclude the undefeated Florida State football team from the 14 playoff. Okay, teams from Florida, Tallahassee's even the state capital, so they're very familiar, and you'll hear something in a moment. Um, yeah, I would expect my governor to defend me. Uh, you know, Suing's a bit frivolous if you ask me, but and unnecessary. But trying to make himself look good in Florida to his constituents, since he's also running for president. Um, Speaking of news conference to detail his proposed $114.4 billion budget for Florida, he's asking for $1 million to let FSU sue College Football Playoff Committee, even though the championship will be decided months before the budget is approved. Semifinals are set for New Year's Day. Championship game is the following Monday on the 8th. DeSantis said, my first grader, fifth grader, and preschooler, they're all Knowles fans. And they're big time fans, and they do the tomahawk chop, and they were not happy. We're going to set aside $1 million, let the chips fall where they may. Well, guess what? By the time that gets seen in court, we'll have a national champion. So, at least in my opinion. It's a recommendation. It's simply a suggestion to the legislature, which will begin its annual session next month. Once the legislature agrees upon a spending plan, DeSantis will have power to veto individual items. Mike Norvell, the head coach of Florida State, was disgusted and infuriated with the Seminoles becoming the first unbeaten Power 5 conference where it ever miss out, while ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips called the decision unfathomable. But here's what I have to say. First of all, to Ron DeSantis' kids, life sucks. Daddy can do whatever he wants. Who do you sue with the college football playoff entity itself? Because it's not NCAA, it's not this, it's not that. They're a de facto group, and it changes every year because you only get 2 or 3 years on the committee. But even so, I don't know who you would sue. And then on top of that, I think the college football playoff did the right thing in terms of protecting themselves from being utterly embarrassed by Michigan. And why do I say that? Because now I don't know. I know the lead quarterback broke his leg or tore his knee up, one or the other. The backup quarterback got injured, but I don't know what injury he had. So they were at their third string quarterback. And sometimes in college football, you do, it isn't like the NFL where the third string quarterback is, Sister Jean from Loyola Chicago. In college, you still got a guy who can throw the ball. You're trying not to play him because, maybe you can get away with using a red shirt on him. But in this case, Florida State struggled offensively against Louisville, won 16-6. I think one thing that puts Alabama over the top, if you think about it, is the fact that they defeated the number one team coming into this event, coming into this weekend. Georgia was number one. So how can you ignore somebody knocking off the number one team, even if that other team is undefeated? Kind of like Ric Flair. To beat a man, you got to beat the man. And that's going to be your sound drop soon. I've been downloading sound drop options this afternoon while I was listening to Tony Bruno's show on the Tony Bruno Sports Network. But I really feel that you have an opportunity here for a great case here of expanding the playoffs. And you know what? You can argue Alabama bought their way in, or ESPN wanted Alabama, and blah blah blah, whatever. You can have your conspiracy theories. My conspiracy theory is that by having an actual snub this year, as opposed to having your four teams and just trying to figure out what four teams you're going to have, by having that snub, it's a great reminder that even though it's going to hurt like hell for Florida State, even though they're probably going to get boat raced by Georgia because they're pissed off they lost to Alabama. Oh, by the way, the college football playoff next year expands to 12 teams. Florida State would be in. Michigan would be in. Washington would be in. And Texas would be in. Now, Texas got the raw and they got the matchup up the butt, if you think about it, because usually what you try to do, and because they've had that 3-year rotation where this year it's at the Rose Bowl and it's the Sugar Bowl. Insert corporate entity name, Rose, whatever. But think about it. Did you want to put Michigan in the Sugar Bowl where they would be at a major disadvantage in terms of fan base? Hypothetically speaking, because, each school gets a certain amount of tickets and you go from there. Do you want to put them in your opponent's backyard, so to speak, the SEC, New Orleans, Superdome? Or do you make it as neutral as possible and put them in the Rose Bowl? That's what they did. And because this is only 4 teams, wait a second, how many teams was that again? 4 teams. Because you have 4 teams in the tourney for the championship, Washington ends up playing Texas in New Orleans. And starting next year, Texas is in the SEC. So Washington gets a raw deal with that, but unfortunately, somebody had to get that raw deal with the way that the top 4 worked out. And who knows? Maybe if it was Michigan and Florida State, you still get them to go out to the Rose Bowl. But either way, you do have some interesting matchups, and Florida State, They'll be motivated to win that game, even though they'll be using their second or third string quarterback. And who knows? Maybe you get lucky. You pull up the upset. You go 14-0. You get your Orange Bowl trophy. I think it's the Orange Bowl that they're playing in. I don't know all the games that they're playing in off the top of my head. But the untimely run of injuries did cause that. Boo Corrigan, the CFP selection committee chairman, said Florida State's a different team than what it was in the first 11 weeks. Here it is. Here's the information here. Travis, the ACC Player of the Year, suffered a season-ending broken leg against North Alabama in mid-November, and the way that a lot of these top teams schedule now, before their rivalry matchup on Thanksgiving weekend or 2 weeks before that weekend, they face a team in FCS or 1AA. Give them some money to show up. Here's $1 million. Use it to your athletics department. Blah blah blah. You know how that works. And let's get, let's make it a glorified practice. And unfortunately, these things happen from time to time. And thankfully, I never saw the injury. I'm sure if I really dug, I could find it, but thankfully, I haven't crossed paths with it for once. Because it seems like every time there's a gruesome injury like that, it always ends up on Facebook. It ends up on Twitter. It ends up in Instagram stories. It happens here. It happens there. And I just don't want to watch that shit. Probably the last thing that I saw that was really gory was the Joe Theismann injury. And, you only need to see that type of injury once, whether it's Joe Theismann, Alex Smith, the kid from Louisville that snapped his leg in the Final Four. You get the idea. And if you want to watch it over and over again, you're a sick motherfucker. But I'll tell you what. I would have leaned towards Alabama only because of the coattails after beating Georgia. Now, you could have turned this into total mayhem with Florida State winning big. But when you go back here, Travis had the broken leg. Tate Rodemaker, who's the backup, I hope I pronounced his last name right. He suffered a concussion late in the Seminoles' regular season finale against Florida, leading to true freshman Brock Glenn, the third stringer, starting in the ACC title game of victory against Louisville. And that was more the defense winning than other. Now, if the backup wins, if the backup didn't get hurt, does he get a chance? Do they still get a chance to play? Who knows? But I think the factor that some people aren't looking at is the fact that Alabama beat the number one team at the most opportune time because of recency bias and everything like that. You could, like, for example, next year, Alabama and Georgia are going to be playing in September in the SEC. Whether they meet again in the SEC title game, however they can figure that up or not, you're going to have, you're going to be saying, well, we can't put Georgia ahead of Alabama because Alabama beat them in September, for example. Because everybody was saying we can't put Alabama above Texas because Alabama beat them. Alabama lost pretty big to Texas. But I will say this. Even though it's a controversy, I think they got it right. But the timing was perfect with everything going on because guess what? Next year we go to 12 teams. We get the home matchups. You get the campus home game in the first round, and then you go to both sites, I believe. I definitely know the first round is campus sites. So be interesting to see what happens here, and hopefully we get to see get to see who's the champion this year. Also, just to let you guys know, um, you can hit me up at Joe Quills on Twitter, Joe at BleacherBrothers.com. Yeah, I do. I keep forgetting to email and tell them that I need my um, password reset because I cannot remember that password. And I thought I wrote it down, and here I did. So let me give myself one of those again for doing that. And check out BleacherBrothers.com. Um, yeah, because I'm going to be writing horse racing articles all week this week because I have the ability of doing so um, early enough because I'm off this week. And who knows, maybe I can write them every day in the future. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But so let's get to the Eagles as we go from national sports to local sports. Um, you know, would I like that to be a closer game? Yeah. But you know what? Would you rather have a blowout loss on December 3rd when you're still ahead of them in the division, in the conference and in division? You're still ahead in the NFC East. You're still ahead in the conference for the number one seed. Would you rather have that or get blown out in January and everybody wants to rip the coach's head off? Um, Personally, even though some people won't agree with this, these games happen from time to time. And truthfully, you, you got to do what you got to do. And, Eagles have been banged up. You could say, oh, they were on the field for 90 some plays against Buffalo. You know, game went overtime. It was almost a full overtime. Blah blah blah. But the one thing is, in my opinion, the Niners essentially did to the Eagles what the Eagles have done to their opponents this year for the most part. Even if it's not completely true. Um, San Francisco didn't do anything the first two drives, and once they got the offense going, they were doing the same thing over and over again. And I've said this many a time to my friends. I've said to you guys on here, at least I think I have, and if I didn't, you're going to hear it now. Sometimes the best defense you have is a ball control offense. And actually, the Eagles did have a ball control advantage over the Niners. However, and I haven't crunched the numbers, and I'm not going to crunch the numbers. And even if I get proven wrong, it just seemed like the Niners had the ball a lot more in the second and third periods, and from the second quarter to the end of the game. First two drives for San Francisco, 3 and out, 3 and out. And because the way that their offense is and everything else, and they have all their weapons, you know that you got to score touchdowns early and you have to send a message. San Francisco did what they had to do to force field goals, and it was 6-0. Not 14, not 16. It was 6-0. So as a result, I mean, even at 14-0, because the Eagles weren't necessarily getting a 60-yard pass play to put them in the red zone. They did have to matriculate the ball down the field little by little. But once the Niners realized what they're in for, the hole started opening up more and more and more for them. Guys were getting open in the secondary. And the next thing you knew, it was 42-19. And, it sucks because if the Eagles had won that game, okay, you're 2 games up on Dallas, you're 3 games on San Francisco. You're up 3.5 on San Francisco technically because you would have won the tiebreaker. Now the Eagles are only up 1 game, and San Francisco holds the tiebreaker. Now San Francisco, they don't have an easy schedule. It's not tough. It isn't as tough as the gauntlet that the Eagles are finishing up here with Dallas and Seattle. But don't be surprised if the Eagles turn this around on Sunday in Dallas, and don't be surprised the Eagles win in Seattle. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles lost both games either. I mean, the whole team hasn't been in sync the whole year, but if they do get in sync, look out. But either way, it was just an ugly performance. And sometimes dominant defenses do that type of thing to you. They really didn't get much out of DeAndre Swift. You did get some passes here and there, but for the most part, San Francisco did the job that they always seem to do on the defensive end. And, hats off to San Francisco. They get the win, and they get to go home and play. I don't even know who they play this week. Oh, yeah, they have a rematch with Seattle, which is probably a good thing for the Eagles, if you think about it. Because San Francisco and Seattle has turned into a feud, even though San Francisco has had the upper hand over the last few years. Um, so you could potentially have a Seattle team, even though the Eagles and Seahawks will have an extra day off because they flex the Eagles and Seahawks to Monday night. Um, Patriots and Chiefs got moved to 1 o'clock Sunday. And you know what? I've seen people complaining about it on Facebook and Twitter about how they made their plans to go to Seattle. And trust me, Seattle is a bitch of a flight. Especially, I mean, it's a bitch of a flight anytime, but if you got a direct flight to Seattle on Alaska Airlines, or well, I know Alaska does it because they come to Philly and they just fly back. They just endlessly go back and forth. Um, but you do have people that planned on going to Seattle for the weekend, who all of a sudden can't go there. They can't go to Seattle, or they got to extend, and good luck getting a flight at the near the cost that you got it to go to Seattle, because guess what? That's the week before Christmas coming back. And I was hoping that Seattle would be like a September game when they announced it, because I have friends out there say, "Hey, let's go to the Eagles game." Oh, I'm sorry, let's go to the Seahawks game because you're a Seattle Seahawk fan. Well, they're not, but they're from Seattle. They'll do it up. But I really, and I saw an article and I didn't look at it. The gist of the story was um, a woman is upset because her kid can't go to the game because it's a Monday night game. It's not a Monday night game now. It's now a Sunday game. I don't know what the whole story behind it is, but either way, um, I think even though it's all good for ESPN and NBC that they have this ability to flex, it's horrible for the common fan because, you know, I mean, it's the worst week to flex if you're a fan, flex from a Sunday to Monday, because you got Christmas week here. And good luck finding a flight that time of the year. But going back to the game itself, it was just, it was just horrible. Um, and I do have to address the the Greenway Big Dom incident in the third quarter. And of course, you think, hey, something like that will rally your team up and blah, blah, blah. It did in a way, but, in the end, San Francisco was just too much, was so much a better team. Tip the hat to them. But I really feel that the only reason why they ejected Big Dom from the game was because, okay, we had to get rid of Greenway because he actually struck Big Dom, even though Big Dom would probably swing back if he really wanted to, but he didn't. He was defending his player. He was getting him away from him so that you're trying to prevent a fight. And San Francisco's a dirty team, but they can back their shit up because especially because they beat the Eagles here. And the Niners were talking a lot of shit during the week, and they've been talking shit since the day they left Lincoln Financial Field last season with that L in the postseason. Oh, we didn't have a third quarterback. Well, dress a third quarterback, you dumbass. Because we have this rule where you gotta have the third quarterback dressed just in case, or you can have them dressed up and not be part of the initial 47 or whatever. But the Eagles are having problems with their defense right now. Shaq Leonard signs today or yesterday. Now, I don't expect Shaq Leonard to be Indianapolis Pro Bowler Shaq Leonard because he has had back surgeries, and I even heard Ross Tucker saying how uh, back surgeries can be so debilitating, or at least I think he used those type words. If I didn't quote him properly, but I'll tell you what. If he can step in, partially help the young linebacker core, be the quarterback on defense, so to speak, with being a linebacker, maybe he can help. I mean, I'm expecting some help. I'm not expecting him to be superstar Shaq Leonard. And also, it's rumored that Ndamukong Suh may come back. And who knows? Maybe he gets to wear the midnight green again. If you remember, he was on the team last year, signed middle of the year, signing a little bit later in the year, and 36 years old now. I didn't realize that. But, he's the type of guy where, he doesn't want to go through training camp. He'll help the team out for a couple of games. And he must be ready, or, I don't know what he did get ready last year, but he is there waiting for a team to sign him. It's rumored to be the Eagles, and if so, great. He's a run stopper, and he'll also help with part of the rotation again, just like he did last year. So hopefully, Eagles get back on track because um, thankfully I don't have many 49ers fans as friends, so didn't have to deal with people um, giving me a bunch of crap. Thankfully, because um, I would have done the amateur thing that I would have gone the way of a bit like Dallas Cowboys fans, like, oh, when's the last time you won a Super Bowl? Remember that all those years? I would have been sitting there saying, okay, who won in the playoffs last year? When was the last time you guys won a Super Bowl? I don't want to hear about 5 versus 1. But seriously, how long has it been? 1 year less than the Dallas Cowboys. Boom. Or 1 year longer than the Cowboys, actually. Because Cowboys won Super Bowl Triple X, the porn version, Niners last won in Super Bowl 29. But, you know, but everybody wants to talk about the number of rings. And, if you count the NFL championships pre Super Bowl, which especially Dallas Cowboy fans don't want to look at, it's 5-4 San Francisco. So you do have an advantage, but we won when you were a shitty team in the 40s. But San Francisco does have the bragging rights right now, so to speak, because they defeated us this year. And I probably shouldn't say we, us. You know, this is probably the one time that I'm worried about pronouns. I know people were. I saw somebody mention on Facebook about pronouns, and I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. But it doesn't bother me that somebody puts he, her, he, him, her, she, her, they, them, it. I'd rather be an it than a they, but that's something for another day. But, you know, I shouldn't use we when it comes to Eagles because are they paying me? No. Am I out there on the field catching passes, intercepting passes, throwing the ball, running the ball, whatever? No. So I shouldn't be using we for Eagles, even though many fans say we when the Eagles win or their favorite team wins, and when they lose, they say they. Yeah, I should be saying they all the time, and that's probably one of the many things that I could be taught as a streamer, as a podcaster, and anywhere that this may lead in the future. So I believe that San Francisco has the right to talk trash. Their fan base, their team, they have the right to talk trash right now. Now, if these teams meet up in January again, we'll see. And if the Eagles win again, we, the Eagles fans, can talk shit again. But until then, San Francisco has that right, even though the Eagles got to the Super Bowl last year and they did, and San Francisco did. So that's what I believe. So um, let me see here. I just want to see something else here before we call it a quick show here. Um, I see here that the Cleveland Guardians will pick first in the 2024 MLB Amateur Draft. Now, first of all, blame Scott Boras for this because if you think about it, Major League Baseball probably has the longest time going from draft day to making the major league roster as opposed to the NFL, the NBA, or hockey. But MLB has the most elaborate farm system effect. And the farm system's effect is why we don't have promotion and relegation in the United States. So, if you're a fan of promotion and relegation, blame Branch Rickey because he is the godfather of he was the creator of the farm system. All right, don't. Because Branch Rickey, does have that history with Jackie Robinson and all that. So, he created so many things in Major League Baseball that we do now. It's because of him, like the farm systems and integrating baseball and all that other stuff. So, but Cleveland had just a 2% chance of earning the number one pick and beat out 8 other teams with better odds, including the Oakland Athletics, Kansas City Royals, and Colorado Rockies, each of which had an 18.3% chance of winning the first pick, tied for best percentage among all teams. Cincinnati Reds will pick second, in the July 14th draft at Arlington, Texas. Arlington's where the All-Star game is this year, followed by Colorado, Oakland, Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis, and the LA Angels, Pittsburgh, and Washington. Um, okay, so what happened with the draft on Tuesday? The initial the initial draft pick, the initial lottery came up. Um, the first drawing of 4 ping pong balls at the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center came up 3, 9, 11, 13, a winning combination for the Nationals among the 1001 combinations. But Washington was ineligible to pick in the top 6 because the collective bargaining agreement states a team that pays in the revenue sharing plan cannot have a lottery pick in back-to-back years. And the Nationals chose outfielder Dylan Cruz with the second selection last year. So because they were in those lottery picks that those balls determined, they were ineligible. So they had to redraw. And the numbers were 8, 14, 10, and 7. Once again, that's a great combination for a superfecta, um, for the Kentucky Derby this year. So if you're, um, if you're a fan of numbers, especially if you're a Cleveland Guardians fan, maybe that's maybe that's a combination play for the superfecta. But going back to here, um, it came in 8, 14, 10, 7, which is a Guardians combination. Results were presented about 2 hours later on MLB Network in the televised show from a ballroom at the winter meetings. Guardians will pick first for the first time in franchise history after finishing 2023 76 and 86, tied for 22nd best record among the 30 teams. Based on the lottery odds, Cleveland jumped all the way up from the number 9 slot, while Cincinnati moved from 13 to 2nd. And truthfully, Cincinnati, they're going to be a good team. So keep your eye on them in the future. Cleveland selected 5 times since the amateur draft started in 1965, most recently taking Paul Shuey in 1992. The draft lottery, whereby the 18 teams that do not reach the postseason vie for the first 6 selections, were introduced in MLB's new collective bargaining agreement that went into effect last year. Numbers 7 to 18 are slotted by reverse winning percentage, followed by how teams finish in the postseason. The Mets, Yankees, and San Diego are each likely to drop 10 slots in the draft because they will exceed the threshold for the second luxury tax surcharge and were not winners of a top 6 pick in the lottery. Mets are projected to pick 19th, which would put them around 29. Padres are 25th, and the Yankees are 26th. The A's, who had the worst record in the leagues of majors at 50 and 112, dropped to 4th, falling to 6th when finishing with the second worst mark. Oakland will be ineligible for a top 6 selection in 2025 because it receives revenue sharing money and already has had 2 straight top 6 picks. Pittsburgh won the original lottery last year. So that is what happened today in Nashville. And I haven't been able to see what happened recently. Um, but either way, um, all eyes are on Shohei Ohtani. Um, the Dodgers are getting involved. Toronto's involved. Be interesting to see where he ends up. Of course, being in Philadelphia, I scroll down and I see on my timeline that could the Phillies be a secret team? What did it say exactly? Hold on. I can't find it now. Damn it. Of course, my buddy Steve posted it, and could the it's from thatballsoutahere.com. Could the Phillies be the mystery team in the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes? I don't think so. I think you're going to have to shed some payroll because you're already over the luxury cap. I think the luxury tax. I think. But either way, I would be very leery, and I've said it numerous times to you guys. If you're going to get 5, 10 years, you're going to have numerous team options to end the contract. Because what happens if he gets hurt again? He can't pitch anymore, or is told not to pitch anymore. I mean, yeah, he's a great hitter as well, but you know, if he gets 50, 55, 60, whatever $1 million it is, you are paying for him to do essentially two jobs. And I just believe that is what you would do there for him, is to pay him for two jobs. So um, so that is going to be it for now. Just want to do a quick show here tonight. I am on vacation for my real job, um, so I do want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen, to watch the show after the fact. Just to let you guys know, the Bleacher Brothers show starts next Monday. It was supposed to start last night or Monday night, but you know, some things happened that it had to be pushed back a week. So um, now I'm not in the mix completely for the Bleacher Brothers show and the Tony Bruno Sports Network. Who knows? Maybe I pop in there every once in a while. I don't know. But either way, um, check out that show and go from there. So also check out nofilter.net for all your shows, whether they're Bleacher Brothers related or not. A lot of great content on there. And apparently, if I had gone with my normal 9:15 start, it appears that there was no. It appears that there's no uh, show with Eric Burns and Will Clark. So let me give myself one of those. But anyways, check everything on nofilter.net. Uh, we got a lot of great content on there. And also check bleacherbrothers.com for all your sports needs. Um, I will have another article dropping tomorrow, and the Wednesday race will be from Tampa Bay Downs. And, I'm horrible at Tampa Bay Downs, and who knows, maybe I get a winner there. I mean, I finally broke the schneid with my segment, as finally got a win with um, at Parks today. So I'm 1 for 12. I'm still down 70 some bucks in terms of what I'm giving you on that article, and hopefully another winner comes in. So we're going to call it a show here tonight. It was a quick show. Wanted to touch base. Um, you know, didn't have much to talk about tonight. So, but I do want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen or watch after the fact. And I will catch you Thursday night here at a special start of 8 p.m. right here on nofilter.net. And just a reminder, the Philly Guy Speaks is part of Bleacher Brothers Network. Check bleacherbrothers.com. As I said before, with the um, all your sports needs. So that's it for now. Do want to thank you all for joining me. Catch you Thursday night at 8 p.m. here on No Filter. Good night, everybody.